I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Most Haunted City on Earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Soucy.
And I'm Billy Bob.
Oh,
That's
God.
not true at all.
What name are you going to come up with the next episode? Every episode you're changing a little bit more.
You have to tune in and find out.
Okay, well, there he goes. He's Billy Bob now.
Billy Bob.
Billy Bob.
All right.
Billy Bob.
Yes. Eni has joined us on the live stream. That's always very exciting.
That is always very fun.
Yes.
Yes, for those of you who are watching or listening to this episode, when it's officially posted, we are now live streaming the episodes as we film them, which is really fun. So definitely, if you enjoy that sort of thing, come check it out. Parajunkies, of course, get their own personal live streams and things like that when we do investigations out in the wild, or we do mobile podcasts, or
just special events.
Or special events.
Yeah.
Like when we were filming our short film, actually. We just filmed a Parajunkies story about the woman with the mismatched fingers, which was a Ghostmail. And we turned it into a short horror movie. It's absolutely frightening. And so when we were filming it, we did a live stream of the behind the scenes while we were actually filming in Chris's house. So there you go.
Yes, and here is the trailer.
She needs to be in a hospital, Paul.
What she needs is family.
It's gotten so much worse than last year, Paul. I stood strong when she lost her job. I mean, I got her every appointment. I picked her up every drug. I made sure she took her own schedule. Nothing worked. I'm divorcing her. I'm done.
Had the same dream the last 3 nights. It starts with me sleeping, and then I hear 3 knocks at the front door. Each finger on that hand is an abnormal length.
So today we are going to do some ghost mails.
Ghost
You've
mail.
got ghost mail.
Yes. So let's go ahead and jump on in.
So just real fast, just on the woman with mismatched fingers. Thank you so much, Mindy, for sending that ghost mail in. It was like one of the scariest that we've ever read, and that's why we made it into a short film. We are going to be doing that more. It went really, really well. We've built a wonderful team that all worked together to make a super creepy movie. And yes, we will be making more ghost mail into films. We already have like a little list of ones we're gonna make. So send in your ghost mail, and as long as you give us the story rights, we will absolutely 100% make it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Back then. So
Wait, real fast. Angelina wants to know who's that in the picture behind you, Madison?
So, this is a woman from Washington, Georgia. We don't know her. She was gifted to us.
But she watches us.
She does.
Yes.
She watches us. It's apparently from a family that's been in Washington, Georgia for a long time. And when we were there filming, they were like, here, you can have this photo because...
You don't want it anymore.
Yes. And they didn't say why they didn't want it, but we now acquired it. And she is creepy. And the scratch marks that you see in it are not from a demon. I promise that it was from a cat, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Is what they said.
When they gave it to us.
Yes.
No, demons, cats. Take the picture.
Take the photo. And of course, JT was like, yeah, we'll take that. And so now she lives here with us next to Isabel. And what did you name her?
I don't know.
I'm getting Bethany.
I'm getting Isla Solis.
Isla Solis.
Yeah.
Eileen.
And Alex just asked, what about the second episode of the radio play? Second episode will be coming soon. I'm still writing it. We are
It's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, the woman with mismatched fingers took a bunch of my creative time, but I've been doing that. I've been writing that, so we are going to be doing that. Most likely, you'll see that in September.
Yes. It's going to be fun.
Oh yeah.
So, all righty. Ghostmail from David Lapointe. Hello, everyone. They go by Will. So, I don't know who David is, but this is Will. Hello, everyone. My name is Will, and I am from a small town in Vermont. I have been listening to you guys for a while now and have decided to finally send in my own story.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you very much for sending. I would like to apologize in advance for how wordy it may get, which is fine. Give us all the details. Honestly, that's an important thing to bring up if you do send a ghost mail in. Give us as many details as you have, because that definitely helps
Does help
in our discussion of it. Because if you leave it very vague, there's a lot of variables that could happen with paranormal encounters. And so when you give us really specific things, it helps us gauge more of a feel of what could be going on. So I don't mind the wordiness at all. So send us your wordiest stories you have.
Bring it.
I would like to preface this story by saying that I have always been someone who does not fully believe in the paranormal, which is a lot of times the case with
That's
people.
usually the phrase right before a mind-blowing ghost story.
Literally. I grew up as a complete horror and true crime junkie, which also goes really hand in hand with paranormal. I know a lot of paranormal people don't love true crime, and a lot of true crime people don't love paranormal, which is another thing. I'm like, why? They tend to go hand in hand with situations, but anywho. But never believed much of it. This was mainly because I had never seen it for myself and couldn't fully believe in something that I had no true evidence on. Nevertheless, I loved the idea of the paranormal to death and never let my beliefs stop me from consuming what I enjoyed. Also very fair. Since I was not a true believer, paired with my non-existent fear of the dark, I was not scared of many things as a kid. I found myself on many summer nights playing games with my friends in the dark and wandering through the pitch black woods, where any noise I heard didn't scare me but rather intrigued me. You are braver than I am, Will, I must say.
You're a horror movie's dream.
Literally.
What's that sound? I'll go investigate.
Literally.
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. But anyways, with this background, I finally will get to the real story. When I was in 8th grade, I was spending the night at a friend's house after another friend's birthday party. The friend whose birthday it was a girl from school who I will call O. Me along with my other friend D decided we would spend the night at my friend A's house after the party was over. I will make it known now that I was a very mischievous child. That makes sense since you had literally no fear of anything. I was a very mischievous child, and to say A's mom didn't like me was an understatement. That night was, we had decided to stay at A's house because all the girls from the party were spending the night at O's house, and we wanted to sneak out and meet them later in the night, as children do. Being that bad influence I formulated a perfect plan that consisted of my friend propping the bulkhead door in the basement open earlier in the day so we could sneak out later that night. We slept in the basement, so access to this was easy, and you needed a key to open the bulkhead, which his parents kept in the kitchen. With my plan in effect, we went to bed around midnight and waited till 1 a.m. when we knew his mom was asleep, since she was the only other person home, and went to bed early. Quietly, we snuck through the basement and made our way out of the bulkhead, making sure to prop it back up after we left so we could get back through it later in the night. From there, we went to the girls' house and spent a couple hours in their basement talking to the girls. Eventually, we decided it was time to leave and made our way back to A's house. To set the scene, A lived on a mountain road in Vermont. Oh God, I can only imagine where this is going.
Yeah.
That's another perfect, consistent story for a horror movie. It was late, the middle of the night, in a dark mountain road of Vermont. And his closest neighbor was O, who lived a 15-minute walk down the road. Needless to say, there was nobody around their house much and definitely no trespassers often. Walking up his long, winding driveway, we made our way around the side of the house where his parents didn't sleep. For reference, his house had a basement, a main floor, a second floor, and an attic-type space. A and his younger brother lived on the second floor while his parents lived in the attic, which was a massive space his dad had turned into an amazing master bedroom. We walked around the side of the house that was opposite of their room, and as we snuck through the yard, we perfectly passed all the motion-activated lights and were almost back to the bulkhead when we heard two of the most distinct knocks coming from the bathroom window on our right. That's also so creepy.
Yeah.
Just two knocks like that.
At least we know it's not a demon, because that would be 3 knocks, right?
Not necessarily, but... You know,
conceptually,
yes. But like, that's something I've always found really creepy. And I think it comes from the strangers mostly, because I'm not scared of a lot either. Like when it comes to like classic horror stuff or paranormal type stuff, I'm not really afraid of it. And so like watching the strangers though, that single knock that they do at the door, that's so horrifying because that's not normal. And so I can imagine that's just like, ugh. You know, just
but 2 knocks is a little bit more normal.
Not necessarily.
I'd rather hear 2 knocks
than
3 knocks, because then you know that it's, you know, trying to make fun of God, you know, with 3.
But it's still...
and then the 1 knock means I'm here to kill you.
Right.
Definitely.
That's it.
I'll keep that in mind next time I come over.
Yeah. No. Right? So JT and I, when we let each other know, and this comes from my dad, because my dad always would knock on my door, and how I knew it was my dad is because he would knock to Jingle Bells. And
nice.
So I do that now. And so like everybody on our team knows it's me at the door because I knock Jingle Bells. Mm-hmm. And so, anyways, but we heard the distinct knocks coming from the bathroom window on our right. All 3 of us whipped our heads towards the noise and saw nothing as the bathroom light was off and window was pitch black. Ooh. That's so creepy. All cursing out loud, we sprinted towards the bulkhead, wanting to get back to the basement before his mom, because this is who we thought was knocking on the window.
Right. Makes sense.
Logical. So sprinting to the bulkhead, my friend Dee pulled it open for us to be met with the biggest scare I and most likely all of us has ever encountered. At the bottom of the stairs, down the bulkhead, the basement light was on in the back room the bulkhead opened up into. At the bottom of the stairs were all 3 of our sleeping bags, which had been set up in the main part of the basement in a line of 3. Each sleeping bag was laid out perfectly with a pillow at the end of them. We were terrified, but we went downstairs anyways and shut the bulkhead behind us. Grabbing the sleeping bags, we dragged them back into the main room and were met with another chilling sight. When we left, we had left everything turned on and the lights off as well. In the main room, we found his TV on and the Wii that was connected to it on as well. On the TV screen was the Me character creation screen frozen on the part where you name your character. We turned off... That's so weird. That because you have to like go through to get to that, you have to flip through that.
Whoa.
We turned off the TV and sat on the couch all terrified. A eventually went upstairs to check on if his mom was awake, and when he came back, he said he walked all the way to her room and she wasn't awake. The next day, she said nothing of the incident, which we thought was weird because she was the type of parent to explode at the idea of sneaking out at night. I'm now 22 and freshly graduated out of college. The reason I thought of this story again was because A and D and I met up the other day for drinks, and the story came up. We said how weird it was that his mom had knocked on the window, which was 2 floors down and across from the house, from the bathroom she usually uses. What scares me the most is that A interjected and said since then he has asked her and told her the full story many times and hope that she confesses on trying to scare us. But to this very day, she swears on her life that she never knocked on any window and never knew we snuck out at all. Since then, I've experienced nothing at all, and A has said nothing about any other incidents that has happened in that house, but what do you think could have happened? Love you guys so much, and thank you for taking the time to read this. Love
Goodness
from up north. I also have some hometown haunting stories from Vermont. Please send those in.
Yes,
I'd love
please
to
send
read
those
those.
in.
Vermont is insanely haunted.
Yes. So let
Well,
me know.
New England, yeah.
Exactly. So let me know if you would like to hear those as well. Yes,
we
please
do.
do. Thank
Please,
you, Will,
please.
for sending
Yeah.
that in. That was so creepy.
For sure. That was super creepy.
Yeah.
Harry Jane said the ghost just wanted to play the Wii.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. EO Serenity said all the factors are adding up. Willing, curious person, scary house, up a road, attic space sounds like a top-rated horror movie in the making.
There you go.
LOL.
Literally.
Yep.
I don't think we
killer-
have an access to a basement in Savannah is the problem.
Right. The
Yep,
killer
yep.
we.
Yes.
Yes.
And Angelina asked a question, and I'll ask that question to y'all after we discuss this.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, I think it was more than likely something was aware that you were up to no good. It could have been a house spirit of sorts that's aware of your presence, has been around you guys, and is just trying to get your attention of being like, hey, maybe you shouldn't sneak out. You know what I mean? That's the vibe
Yeah.
I got. I don't feel like it's something super negative. Sure, it's creepy because paranormal encounters in general, especially if you don't encounter them often, are frightening and unnerving. But what it sounded like to me is simply that. It sounded like you have a house spirit in this home who is just aware of like what everybody's normal routines are, what you're supposed to do. Maybe they were more of a stickler to rules. Maybe they were a parent themselves and they're like, the kids are out in the middle of the night. You shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just their way of letting you know that they're aware that you're up to no good. But that's just my inkling.
Chris.
Yeah, I have a tendency to believe that we're dealing with certainly not malevolent. It doesn't
not
seem
at all.
malevolent, but given the TV, the Wii, the sleeping bags, those notions makes me think that you're dealing with somebody who wanted to be included.
Oh, interesting.
You know, somebody who wanted to play, was looking forward to an evening with you know,
the
life
kids.
and with
Yep.
kids and maybe a kid itself, you know,
Yeah.
or you know, something that had observed you enough to know how to get past, because you know, most ghosts are not going to be overly tech savvy. So if you're playing a game a lot, maybe just simply by observing the playing of the game, so you might be dealing with kind of a lonely ghost,
Sure.
like
Aw.
setting up the game, setting up the
that's
things,
sad.
you know,
A lonely
putting the bed rolls out and being like, yeah, they're going to be back soon. They're going to be back soon. So it's possible that when you're
that's
walking by
sad.
the window, it was like, hey,
Hey.
you're back. Let's go play Wii.
Like,
That's probably it, actually.
that's actually a really good
Yeah,
concept.
that's it.
Yeah, I love that. You know, and it's interesting too that it was on the part of the me character, because
Right.
if you remember doing that, like you would make your characters to look like yourself, and I wonder if
You know,
they
what was the character? I was
Yeah.
thinking that too. I was like,
Yeah.
what did it look like?
Yeah, and I wonder if it like made it kind of look like what they perceive themselves to look like, to be like, this is me.
It's me.
It's me. Like, I'm your friend now. That's so honestly, I like your theory a lot better, Chris. I'm gonna go with that as well. That's super
Yeah,
interesting.
I like that too.
Yeah. So what was the question?
Oh, the question is Angelina Vito asks, my brother worked in a mortuary and is quite interested in all of this. Do butterflies flutter around the morgue at random? Does it have anything to do with any of this?
Butterflies are a classic trope of a spirit being nearby. A lot
Absolutely.
of, you know, so oftentimes people who are recently passed will appear as butterflies, or they'll appear to their family members as butterflies. It's just a classic trope of rebirth almost. They've entered a new realm basically, and so it's their new existence, and it's represented through butterflies.
Yes, a lot of people use butterflies as signals from loved ones.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about birds,
Right.
You know,
Cardinals
and showing up as avatars of spirits of the people that you know loved us and want to keep us aware. So quick question. Have you seen Haunted Mansion yet?
No, I
That's the
haven't
new
seen
one?
it yet.
I was
JT,
going
we
to
need-
refer to it.
We need to go see it.
There's a great
Yeah.
reference piece, and it works really well with what we talk about a lot. So the idea that a butterfly would be around where the body lingers, it's such a strange phenomenon. When a person dies, the concept of the ghost being like the pilot of our meat suit,
Right.
like being just this thing. It's a little broken because we actually have so many facets to ourselves. And you can haunt more than one place. You can be present in lots of places as a single spirit because time doesn't mean anything to the dead, and space doesn't mean anything to the dead. So you can haunt your childhood home and look like a little boy, or you could haunt the last place where you were alive and be the full adult version of you. We've even talked about people who have seen adult versions of children who had died,
Right.
as if the ghost itself had grown into an adult. So there are all kinds of different things, but one of the things that is most noted is that the body will always have a special place for the
Right.
spirit. The spirit will always be anchored to the body, and that's a lot of the reason why graveyards have so many customs attached to it, is because
Yeah.
we're trying to make sure that anchor keeps the spirit happy, or keeps it organized. We put dead bodies on very comfortable cushions and with satin and all these things, because we're trying to create a place where the spirit isn't at unrest, because we're always attached to the body, because that's how we understand the world.
Sure.
So the concept of a butterfly being an avatar for that spirit, it makes sense that it would be where bodies are.
Right.
Where the bodies are. You see, when you see butterflies in graveyard, it's supposed to be of significance that anchor, that tether, is still very strong.
I want to become a mossy plant of some sort. So,
All right. Well, thanks for
Can't
sending
relate.
that in.
yes, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Awesome. All right. So, Ashley Swint, or Ashley Meyerskaw. My name is Ashley Meyerskaw. So must have recently got married. Sorry if I read your name and you're like, that's not my name now anymore, because whatever your email name is, I read that first. But anyways, so my name is Ashley Meyerskaw. I am a new Parajunkie. Yay! Thank you, Ashley.
Yes. Welcome.
Welcome to the Parajunkie gang.
With the Parajunkie gang.
We're going to get some motorcycles.
We're gonna get leather jackets. Honestly, we should get jackets. That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Yes, we should do that. Okay, anyways. So also we should never mind, I shouldn't say that. That should be a surprise for for someone a certain Parajunkie. But anyways.
Okay.
Love the podcast and would love to share one of my ghost stories with you all. This is a long story, so I apologize in advance. Again, don't apologize for sending details. We love details. So on May 1st, 2016, my now husband's roommate and brother-in-law, David, passed away tragically in a motorcycle accident in Sonoya, Georgia. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yep.
It's really sad. While driving to meet another close friend to ride their motorcycles together. That's really sad that we just made
I
jokes
just brought
about
up
motorcycles.
and
Yo.
I'm sorry.
Whoa, weird.
That's
okay.
weird.
That's weird. Okay. Anyways, the events of that day still stick with me so vividly to this day. My husband and I were on our way to a tattoo appointment that we had a month in advance when we received a call from David's friend, who was also a close friend of my husband. He was looking for David because he had not shown up to meet him a few hours after he said that he was on the way. I immediately had a feeling in my gut that something terrible had happened. I have always been extremely sensitive, and my gut feeling about things have always been right. Sometimes I hate that. It's called claircognizance. It's a wonderful gift and also a curse in a lot of different people. So I totally understand what you're saying. But we immediately canceled our appointment and turned around and headed back to my husband's rental house. Once we arrived, there was no word from David. On the ride back, I had reached out to anyone who knew that might have heard from him. Everyone had tried calling or texting him to ensure that he was okay. We searched the house up and down, and there was no sign of him. In our last sweep, when I was moving back towards the living room upstairs from the hallway where the bedrooms were, I saw something out of the corner of my eye in the living room on the couch. I saw him, David. My husband's brother-in-law, my brother-in-law / roommate, the one we were looking for, he was sitting on the couch in a trance-like state, staring at the TV in the living room.
Whoa.
He never looked at me, never looked away from where the TV sat in the living room. I called my husband because I was so relieved to see him sitting there. He was so solid, so present that I couldn't believe that somehow we missed him in our searching of the house. I turned away to make sure that my husband heard me downstairs in the basement, and when I looked back at the couch, he was no longer there. In that moment, I knew he had passed.
Wow.
To this day, I was the only one that ever saw him after he passed. I have goosebumps. I have goosies. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I was the only one that ever saw him after he passed. Hours after this, we received the most devastating call from his parents that he was in a motorcycle accident and that he had passed. Very soon after this horrific event, my husband asked one of his closest friends to move in to help pay the rent so that he could continue living there. Upon moving in, his friend lived in the finished basement space that was previously occupied by David when he lived there. Our friend group all gathered there at the house. We were all still in shock. My husband's parents purchased a gift card for Longhorn Steakhouse for us to ensure that through our grief we were all able to go out together and eat because none of us could eat through the stress of losing such a close friend and brother.
Yeah.
We all went to dinner in about 3 days after the event. I never told anyone about my encounter with David on the day that he passed. I was afraid that they would all think I was crazy, which it's not uncommon to see a loved one right after they pass. It's a very common story that people have. So,
yeah, but didn't Ashley Warner send in a similar ghost mail?
Yes.
Yeah, where someone was murdered and
she had a dream about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not uncommon for that to happen. But I can understand why people feel like they can't share it because you don't want to sound insensitive. But it is a very real experience.
Absolutely.
So when we all returned to the house after dinner, we could hear a loud noise coming from the house. My husband entered cautiously, and when he opened the door, we could all hear music. We all walked in the house with him on edge, and we could hear the sound of music. At the time of this event, my husband was a senior advisor for Apple who worked from home. He had 2 monitors in his house, and both of his monitors were on YouTube playing the song Good, Good Father by 1000 Father / Georgie Wilkins at full volume.
Wow.
It rang through the house. Little did we know that this was in fact the very song that David's mother would ask my husband, who plays bass, and his friend, who plays drums, to play at the funeral service 2 days after the events.
Whoa.
Literally chills. Oh my God, that's so creepy. That's insane. It all came full circle in the end. None of us could explain how this song was playing from his computer. I've not seen our friend / brothers since this incident. At his funeral service, his parents hired a painter that painted during the service. I'm a painter myself, but I could not bring myself to look at what she was painting as my eyes were filled with tears during the entire service.
Wow.
I did not want to believe that we were even there, celebrating the short life of my friend who passed away too young. David's mother unexpectedly stood up at the end of the service and spoke out after the music and vigil was held for him. She walked over to the painting / painter and said that she needed to explain this painting that was now completed. She had witnessed this scene before in a dream the night before the service. Mind you, this was a religious service. She explained that the night before she had a dream that her son had met Jesus, and that she was along for the ride as he met him, and explained how he felt that he was not worthy of entering heaven as he had done some things in his past that made him feel inferior. Mm-hmm. Despite those things, Jesus took him on a tour of heaven, standing atop a beautiful waterfall overlooking the most beautiful scenery anyone could ever see, were 2 figures beside one another. Chills filled my body. In the things I had seen earlier that week, I was scared to doubt that his mother had seen him as well. I have never shared this story with anyone. I would love to know your thoughts on the afterlife and if anyone can come back to let their family know that they have made it into heaven via dreams. I have not seen my dear friend since this event. I would love to believe that he had made it to heaven. Would love to hear your feedback on this very long story. Thank you very much for reading. If you have made it to the end of this, Ashley Myerscaw. Absolutely fabulous story.
Wow.
And that's why we say don't skimp on the details, because that is just so unbelievable. But it's very, very common to hear, especially shortly after loved ones pass, that they come back in ways to comfort their family members. And especially you hear it a lot when people die unexpectedly or,
It's the crowning achievement of unfinished business.
Exactly.
Is letting the people that you love know you're all right or know that you love them.
Exactly. And also the reason why I say that, because people will ask, like, how do I see my loved ones? How do I feel them again? Everybody has clear abilities in some ways. It's just some people are more attuned to them.
Yeah.
And a lot of times your spirits or your family members or whoever it is that are trying to talk to you or contact you are going to come through in ways that they know they're going to actually be seen. So that makes sense why you saw him in person. Like, that was going to be the way that they were going to get the most acknowledgement from you, versus his mother might have had that experience and not thought anything of it, or wouldn't have been able to acknowledge that experience. So they chose to come through in dreams because they knew this is the time that she's going to get the most impact out of this. So I think it's interesting that you each had very different encounters, but they both brought closure in some ways. And that shows that unfinished business was being completed, And also, I think it's really interesting that you brought up when you saw him that he was so solid, because I've also mentioned this before with spirits. I'm like, because people are like, well, what did they look? And I'm like, they all look different. He was a freshly created spirit. So of course he's going to be much more solid. And that's why I say I've been duped sometimes by spirits, because I'm like, at first I'm like, oh, that's just a normal person. And then it's not, because they might have just recently died. They haven't expended all of their energy. Everybody still knows of their existence. They haven't been lost to time like a lot of spirits have, which is when you typically see the more transparency to them, the lack of features, the lack of, certain distinguishing clothing items or whatever it be. So I'm glad you brought up how like realistic it felt and how tangible it felt, because it can be like that. And
especially with so recently.
Exactly.
Deceased, because you very likely are encountering the spirit not accepting that it has passed.
Yeah.
It is now operating on a sort of shock.
Right.
You say that it was sitting dazed, staring, it made it home. It came home. He came home with that notion of this isn't real. I'm not,
right.
This, and thereby probably burning a lot of his energy on maintaining his solidity.
Right.
That because of that time period when you saw him, you probably saw him right at the threshold, right at the moment, of passing that causes that very strong impulse of a spirit. And it may have been such a surprise to him that he had not fully accepted his fate at that point. People communicating about heaven in dreams or in things like that, that is a great comfort to those who are alive. You see your loved one in heaven or being embraced by God or in those lights, and it becomes like this very tricky conversation because of the wide breadth of faith and the wide breadth of what it is. But it is my belief that religion, faith, the love that you place in your life you're building your heaven as you live.
Sure.
You're building it in an expectancy to where you spend eternity, and you have to contribute in faith and contribute in things, and that leads to a lot of doubt that you're going to make it.
Right.
It leads to a lot of doubt that you're going to be there. So those reassurant dreams are oftentimes to put at rest the angst and the pain, is to say I'm in a better place. I'm in that better place. But I think faith builds your heaven, and you will receive it when you die if you were faithful to that heaven. But in the end, we are immensely powerful beings,
Right.
And we don't give humanity enough credit for the responsibility for our reality and the responsibility for what happens next. So yeah, I think that it's not abnormal to hear the story, because I've heard that before, the people who lost a loved one and seeing them, in some form of heaven,
Right.
and being given the relief that is what has occurred, that is what's come to pass. So, yeah.
I also am a believer in the fact that it's spirits will give us imagery that is easily digestible for us,
Right.
if you will, because I think the concept of eternity or heaven or wherever you believe that you're going is incomprehensible.
Incomprehensible.
Incomprehensible. Thank you, JT. Yes, I think it's just we're not able to comprehend the vastness of it. And spirits rely on imagery to kind of give us a taste of what it is, but until you get there, you can't understand. It's
Right.
not meant for us to
It's a
understand.
translation.
Exactly. And so, like imagery, you hear imagery of like the big pearly gates, the waterfalls, the beautiful nature, like all of that. Like, I feel like that's because that's what we know.
Yeah.
And we can understand that, and we know that's beautiful. So we're like, great, that's what it looks like. But I think, when you get there, it's very different. But
Yeah, it's always strange that we utilize all of these sensory things, these things that would be comfortable for the body,
right.
Things that would be appealing to the body, but we know full well the body does not go. We see the body. So the fact that our heavens and our hells seem to be about, they're going to, rend your flesh. It's like, what flesh? It's still here.
Right.
Am I given a new body? What happens? And it's like, well, it's because of our ability to understand our environment. So we create environments that we understand to be pleasing or tormenting.
Right.
But the truth of it is, the physicality of of a location like that is more a translation of sensation than it is a real estate address.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's a very tricky, understanding of it. And like when people have those experiences, like when people have near-death experiences and discuss like what they saw or things like that, it's tricky to decipher, because I'm like, who am I to say what you saw isn't reality?
Absolutely.
And so but it is a fascinating experience, and I'm glad that it brought her peace.
Yes.
To know that like her child is okay, because I can only imagine how brutal that must have been.
Absolutely.
So but thank you for trusting us with that story and allowing us to share
it. We also have a couple comments. Michaela said that it's heartwarming to know that he stuck around to let people know he was there. Angelina Vito said, thank you for your insightful explanations. In our culture, we prioritize ensuring the comfort of the deceased. Similarly, in Indian culture, the practice involves cremating the bodies and dispersing the ashes in a distant river. This ritual signifies the strong connection believed to exist between the spirit and body, solidifying their faith.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, like when you look into rituals from different cultures, it's always fascinating to see what the priorities are of, and the root of it always is they want the deceased to be okay. Nobody wants the deceased to feel discomfort or any type of torment.
Yeah.
And so I would love to actually even do like a whole episode on just
funeral practices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think that would be super interesting.
Because it is all about trying to navigate the idea of peace,
right?
And achieving peace.
So
yes,
but yeah. So thank you.
This episode is like so deep,
Right?
and the next episode
Is so not.
so not. Wait, no, we can't say it.
Okay, we'll cut that, Debria. Cut it.
Anyway, all right, let's go ahead.
Well,
jump
they already
into the
know
next
it's in
one.
the title of the live stream. That
Is it?
Yes.
No, it's not.
I thought it was.
I didn't put it in. The, nope.
Oh well.
Oh, there
now
we go.
now you know.
There you go.
So,
And
anyways,
it mean nothing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I know,
it's
right?
true. Well, anywho, so thank you guys so much for sending in your ghost mail. If you,
No, we have one more.
oh, do we?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have one more. Remember?
Oh, okay. Yep.
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 But yes, thank you for sending in your ghost mails.
Yes.
Yep.
1 second. I just gotta find it.
That's all right. Young. But the next episode is about a cryptid in Pennsylvania. And it recently went, like, I'm not going to say it went viral, but there's been a lot more posts about it. And it's because I sent it, I tagged y'all, and I was like, what is this?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's a lesser known on a wide scale. It's a lesser known cryptid, but locally it is quite celebrated.
Oh, cool.
Do
we not have a third one?
We have it. It's just I don't know why, like, the ghosts are messing with this today, because like every one that
my phone?
Yeah, can I see your phone? Because every single one that I'm clicking on, it won't download the message. It's really
so weird. Them ghosts.
Them ghosts.
Because we've got a few that are stacked up, and I'm just very confused.
So for the para junkies that remember the Iceland episode that I only released on Patreon, and it's still only there. If you want to hear the Iceland episode, you should go ahead. It's so unbelievably ridiculous, and you should if you. I feel like this next one is going to be just as ridiculous.
It's going to come close. Well, it's not going to have nearly the soap opera.
Yeah. All right, you found it?
Yes,
Let's
it's from
do it.
Lorenzo, actually.
Oh, Lorenzo.
So,
Congratulations.
because
Cool.
so Lorenzo, I've had to break up this ghost mail into multiple episodes because he sent like his whole life story of paranormal encounters in one email. So there's a lot of stories.
Okay. Yeah,
so
we can just
we've
read
read
one.
some of this email in particular, but I just wanted to open some more of the stories. Continuing of Lorenzo's ghost encounters. So we'll restart with the email top, the intro of all of it that we've read in former emails, but just so that you know what's going on. So howdy do. I figured it was time for this old dog to relay his story. I have yet to share this with anyone. First off, I've attached 2 videos of my palms in response to the Q&A way back in June. He said it was posted on June 2nd, 2023. We had mentioned that in certain palmistry beliefs that it can tell you what psychic abilities you have. You can look at witches' marks. So he sent his palms so we can see his palms.
Oh, cool.
I am not an expert in palmistry, but I will definitely take a look and I'll give you a message if I figure anything.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about like the really long M.
Yeah, the M and N.
Yeah.
And all that, because that's a clear indicator of if you can see spirits. And I, on both my hands, have very distinct M's, which is really interesting. And I believe Lorenzo also had really distinct M's. But anyways, so we'll start with Casper gets me yelled at.
Excellent.
So this one is short but goofy. I was working on my homework in my room with my mom making supper in the kitchen and my stepdad watching TV in the living room. Now, please trust me when I say that I am not joking. I know I have sounded crazier than a lion doing a handstand, You got to be from Texas. Is he from
I
Texas
know, right?
originally?
No.
Is he? He's
No,
from
he's-
Illinois now, but
Yeah.
but you got to be from Texas originally. Howdy do and
Howdy do.
crazier than a lion doing a handstand.
Oh, it sounds pretty Midwest to me.
Midwestern.
It doesn't
That's
sound
just-
Midwestern
yeah,
to
it
me.
is.
That's
Really?
all good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, anyways.
Missouri.
But I swear that to you all that everything I have said and going to say is the truth. It's around 5 p.m. on some weekday. I have an irrelevant YouTube video playing in the background. As I'm working on the homework, a pencil lifts up into the air like some Harry Potter bleep.
Got it.
Yeah, sorry, kiddos. And flings into the hallway. No joke, it lifts into the air like someone picked it up and it was thrown into the hallway. This is legit a core memory for me. I can imagine, something levitating right in front of you. That sounds like a core memory.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is really insane. So how do I know it happened? My mom yelled, "Quit throwing stuff." And my stepdad asked, "Hey, why are you throwing things?" Of course, they didn't believe me when I said I didn't do it. So that's first story.
Okay.
Then he has this titled Current Times, Apartment 31 Introduction. At this point in my life, I'm 21 with my current age of 22. I'm married with one child. My wife despises everything to do with the unknown, yet she tolerates my curiosity because it has yet to kill me. Yet. Now, my apartment is a duplex. For those who don't know what a duplex is, it's 2 apartments that share a wall. As you can guess, it's not very big. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, maybe 800 square feet. When you walk in the door, you immediately enter the living room space. To the left of the entrance, past the living room, is the kitchen, which has the back door on the back left side of the kitchen. If instead of left, you went right from the entrance, you would end up in sort of an intersection of rooms. Straight ahead would be the bathroom, and then to the right would be both of the bedrooms, and the left would be the office, and right would be our bedroom. I hope that paragraph made any lick of sense to anyone. ADHD brains go wild sometimes. I understand that. So, the mimic of apartment 31. That was just to explain what his apartment looked like. But I cannot tell you the exact date when it started, but I can tell you that it was fleeting glances. I opened the fridge and saw my wife walk by. I said something along the lines of, "Hey, babe," only to be met with silence. When I turned around, she wasn't there. I shrugged it off and thought that she must have been in a hurry to get back to our daughter. At another point, I was in the shower. I heard my wife yell my name, not in a help, I'm dying manner, but in a more of a where is X, Y, or Z. I stepped out of the shower and opened the door and asked what she needed, but she walked into the living room and looked at me as if my face was green. I asked, "What's up? What's wrong?" My wife responded with the good old, "I didn't call for you. Quit messing around."
Uh-oh.
This may seem insignificant, but the name calling in each other's voices happened on a semi-regular basis. Along with the infamous, I know, right? Along with the infamous triple knocks on the door, JT.
Oh, no. Triple knocks.
Anyways, things being knocked over and thrown, the footsteps outside the windows, only for no one to be anywhere when I would check. And then another part of apartment 31. The toy doesn't like it when we fight.
Uh-oh.
Apparently you need to move out of apartment 31.
Yeah, I know, right?
She's your friend.
No, she isn't.
Ilis Elise.
Ooh, I hate the dolls. I feel.
That's why I put them behind you.
I know. I hate that, Jay. Like, literally, I feel her staring into the back of my head, and it's really hard to focus because I just feel this creepy doll in the back of my head. Thank you very much. Okay. So we're going to talk about the toy that doesn't like to fight. No, the toy that doesn't like it when we fight. We're going to read this one, and then we'll save the rest of Lorenzo's ghost stories for another ghost mail. But the missus and I do not proclaim to have a perfect relationship. As per every relationship, there will be arguments. One will say something that they don't mean, and the other will respond defensively. It's not a couple's proudest moment, but the healing and bonding that hopefully happens after is beautiful. Very true. You're very right. No, everybody fights. No big deal. My mother gave my daughter one of those toy cars that a kid can sit in. It was old but still worked, and my daughter loved it. 1-year-olds tend to like any toy that'll make noise and annoy an adult. As most toys end up, the car was forgotten about outside. During a dispute, we were stopped dead in our tracks by some familiar melodies. The melody ceased as soon as we did, and the second that one of us made a sound, so would the melody. Curious to find out what it could be, I investigated. Man, I would be dead so many times over in a movie. To my dismay, outside the front door was the toy car. Lights on and the melody cheerfully beeping along, which is frightening because that toy has been out there for months through all sorts of Midwestern weather. I went outside, pressed the buttons, and nothing, no matter how hard I pressed, how many I pressed, it wouldn't make a peep. Dead battery, probably creepy as heck, definitely. That toy has not made a single noise in the weeks that had been out there. The toy was bone dry in all. Even if it was a coincidence, at least it stopped our argument. So, with that, thank you guys so much for sending in your ghost mail and Lorenzo. Those are so fun, and I can't wait to read the rest of the stories because they are you just have a very comical way of writing and really presenting the stories. So, and you should definitely write more of them if you have them.
Yes.
But yes, if you have a ghost mail story that you would like to send to us, please send those in. We really appreciate them. You can send it to ghostmail@hauntedcitypodcast.com. Also, TikTok took away the Q&A button.
What?
I know.
What?
I know. So if you have a question that you want to ask us, Ghostmail is going to be the place to do all of the things.
Yes.
But do make sure to preface if it's a Ghostmail or a Q&A question to make it a little bit easier on me to decipher between the two. So yeah, just in the subject, put question or Ghostmail, and then whatever you want to title it from there is good to go. But yes, please send those in. We absolutely love reading them. And the listeners, the Parajunkies, they all enjoy hearing y'all's experiences as well. It makes it feel like a very nice paranormal community, if you will. So, but with that though, thank you guys again for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And my name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And stay spooky, y'all.